Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into a term that I think for a lot of people, it just sounds completely out of reach. We're talking about wealth management.
Right. It sounds like something for, billionaires on a yacht. It has
Yep.
that kind of baggage.
Exactly. And our sources actually suggest that idea is uh, totally outdated. So that's our mission today, really, to unpack what it actually is and figure out if it's something that makes sense for people, especially in high growth places like Florida.
That is the biggest barrier right there, that outdated perception. If you just look past the name, the concept is, well, it's stunningly simple. It's coordination.
Coordination.
Yeah, it's about having a financial quarterback, someone who is looking at all the different parts of your money life and making sure they're all working together.
Okay, so it's not just about investing.
Not at all. One of our sources had a great analogy. Think of it like this. Financial planning can be like seeing a bunch of different medical specialists. You've got a cardiologist, a dermatologist. They're all experts in their field.
Right, but they're not talking to each other.
Exactly. Wealth management is the primary care doctor, the one who coordinates the whole team, makes sure the heart medication isn't going to cause a problem with what the kidney specialist prescribed.
So the biggest risk for someone building wealth isn't necessarily a bad stock pick, but their own financial plan fighting with itself.
That's it in a nutshell. And that internal conflict is incredibly costly. To put a number on it, here's the key statistic we pulled from the data.
Okay.
Families who work with a comprehensive wealth manager, they typically see about 15 to 20% better long-term financial outcomes.
Whoa, hang on. 15 to 20%. That sounds huge. What's the catch? Is that from just like incredible stock market calls?
That's the right question.
Yeah.
And no, it's not magic. It's not about market timing. That gain comes from stopping all the unnecessary friction. Eliminating hidden tax leaks, preventing costly structural mistakes. That 15 to 20% boost, it's rooted in coordination and tax efficiency. We can talk about the costs later, but for most people in complex situations, the cost of the errors they avoid is way higher than the advisory fee.
That totally reframes it. Okay,
Yeah.
so if coordination is the secret sauce, let's break it down. What are the key ingredients, the pillars of this relationship?
We can break it down into 4 coordinated pillars. The first one is the one everyone knows,
Yeah.
investment management and portfolio strategy.
Right, picking stocks.
Well, it's more than that. It's moving beyond just having a brokerage account. It means building a real strategy based on your timeline, your comfort with risk, and what you're actually trying to achieve.
So the goals really drive the whole thing.
They have to. I mean, the sources show a Florida retiree who needs income might be, say, 60% stocks, 40% bonds, very focused on preservation. But a younger family could be 80% stocks, 20% bonds.
Going for growth.
Exactly. And the key word is active. It's not set it and forget it. It's quarterly monitoring, rebalancing, making sure the portfolio is always aligned with those goals.
Okay, active management makes sense. But if we're talking about efficiency, I'm guessing the next pillar is the one that causes the most pain for people. Taxes.
Oh, yeah. This is where a good manager really earns their keep, especially, for Florida residents, since you don't have a state income tax.
Which is a huge advantage.
A huge advantage. But you have to use it correctly. The strategies are pretty high level, tough for one person to manage on their own.
Like what?
Okay, so there's something called tax loss harvesting. That's where you strategically sell an investment that's down in value to offset a capital gain you have somewhere else. It lowers your immediate tax bill without really changing your long-term plan. It is. Then there's asset location. That just means putting your high-growth investments, the ones that would get taxed heavily, into tax-deferred accounts like a 401k or an IRA. It's just smart placement. And then, for people nearing retirement, there are always Roth conversion strategies.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, you convert traditional IRA money to a Roth during a low-income year. You pay some tax now, but then all that future growth is tax-free. It's all about playing the long game with the tax code.
That's definitely the kind of thing that only happens if someone is looking at the entire board at once. Okay, what's pillar number 3?
That would be estate planning integration. And to be clear, this is a coordination role.
So they're not writing the will.
No, that's the attorney's job. But the wealth manager's job is to make sure every single account, every asset, lines up perfectly with what those legal documents say.
And I'm guessing that often doesn't happen.
You would be amazed at how often strategies conflict. We see it all the time. A family has this great trust set up by an attorney to minimize estate taxes, but then nobody ever went back and updated the beneficiary designations on the investment accounts.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
So they might avoid the estate tax, but they accidentally created this massive future income tax problem for their kids. A coordinated approach catches that stuff immediately.
Okay, preventing future family drama. Invaluable. And that brings us to the last pillar, right? Risk management, protecting what you've built.
Exactly. This pillar is all about defense. Protecting the assets you already have from the stuff you can't predict.
So insurance.
It's insurance, but it's strategic. We're looking at liability insurance, protecting your assets from a lawsuit. We're looking at disability insurance, which protects your income stream if you can't work.
Yeah.
And then long-term care planning, which addresses those potentially huge healthcare costs way down the road.
And for Florida, I imagine there's a unique angle here.
There is. The legal environment in Florida makes liability protection really critical. You have this incredibly powerful homestead exemption, which can protect your primary home from creditors.
Right.
But you need a manager who understands Florida law to integrate your insurance strategy with those specific state protections. It's a completely different puzzle than, say, in New York or California.
That makes so much sense. Okay, let's get to the big one, the myth we saw in the sources. This idea that wealth management is only for the super, super rich.
Right, that it's millionaires only, and that used to be true for the most part. But technology and just how the industry has changed, it's lowered that bar a lot.
So what's the new threshold?
Today, it's really not about a specific number. It's about complexity.
Yeah.
The service is now very accessible for families with, say, $500,000 to $1 million in investable assets.
Okay, so if it's about complexity, what are the triggers? When does doing it all yourself start to break down?
The sources point to 5 clear triggers. First, if you have multiple income sources, so not just a W-2 salary, but maybe you also have rental properties or you own a business, things get complicated fast.
Okay.
Second, major life transitions. Retirement is the obvious one, but also handling an inheritance, a divorce, or selling a business. Those are moments when you really need coordination.
Makes sense.
Third, if you're in a higher tax bracket and your main goal becomes optimization, not just growth. Fourth, if your estate plan has any complexity, like a family business or maybe heirs who live out of state. And honestly, the 5th trigger is just, you don't have the time or the desire to manage it all yourself.
That really shifts the conversation from just net worth to your life stage and your career, which feels way more relatable. So for our listener, how does living in Florida specifically change the game here?
The Florida Advantage, as we can call it, is something a generic national advisor just won't get. We already talked about the lack of state income tax, which totally changes how you plan retirement withdrawals.
You'd be more aggressive.
You can. But then there's real estate. It adds so many layers. A good local manager has to maximize that homestead exemption for asset protection. But they also have to deal with the fact that a lot of Florida residents own property in other states.
Oh, that sounds like a nightmare.
It can be. It creates these messy, multi-state tax and probate situations that absolutely require a coordinated strategy to solve.
And living where we do, I guess the planning can't just be financial. It has to be physical, too.
100%.
Yeah.
Comprehensive planning in Florida has to include disaster planning. That means making sure you have liquid emergency funds ready to go. It means making sure vital documents are safe, but also accessible if you have to evacuate.
And I imagine insurance for hurricanes and floods fits right in there.
It's a core part of that risk management pillar. Making sure the physical assets are properly insured against regional risks is not an afterthought. It's part of the holistic plan.
Okay, we've been using 2 terms a lot, financial planning and wealth management. And they get used interchangeably all the time. Let's make the distinction crystal clear.
Yeah, we have to. They're not the same thing. Financial planning is typically project-based. It's focused on a specific goal. Help me create a budget, or how much do I need to save for retirement? Our sources call it the blueprint. The blueprint for the house. Got it. Right. Wealth management is ongoing. It's comprehensive. It includes the financial planning, the blueprint, but then it adds the proactive coordination of everything else we talked about: investments, tax, estate, risk. It's the general contractor who takes the blueprint and actually manages the whole construction project for the next 50 years.
I love that analogy. Okay, so if that ongoing coordination sounds necessary and a listener fits into that complexity bucket, how do you actually find the right person, the right quarterback?
You really need to vet them carefully. 4 key criteria. First, look at their credentials. You want to see a CFP, which is a certified financial planner, or a CFA, a chartered financial analyst. It shows a serious commitment to the profession.
Okay, what's next?
Second, and this is non-negotiable, Fee transparency. You have to know exactly how they get paid. The sources say typical asset-based fees are somewhere between 0.75% and 1.25% a year. And you need to make sure they are a fiduciary.
Which means they have to act in my best interest.
Solely in your best interest. No hidden commissions, no conflicts.
And given our whole conversation about Florida,
You absolutely must insist on local knowledge. Investment markets are global, sure, but tax laws, asset protection, state laws, those are hyper-local. A manager who knows Florida's rules can save you from incredibly expensive mistakes.
makes sense. And the last one.
Finally, just understand the service model. Is it an all-in-one firm that does everything in-house? Or are they a coordinator who works with your existing accountant and attorney? Neither model is better, but you just need to be clear on who's doing what.
This has been incredibly clarifying. I think this deep dive really shows that wealth management isn't some luxury product. It's more like a structural necessity once your life reaches a certain point of complexity.
That is the perfect takeaway. It's about getting all the different parts of your financial life, which were probably set up at different times by different people, to finally work together. That's what leads to real long-term success and, peace of mind.
And the source material leaves us with a really provocative final thought. It says, don't wait until you're already successful and things are complicated to start coordinating. By then, the mistakes might have already cost you that 15 or 20% boost you were trying to get in the first place.
That's so true. The best time to start is before you think you need it.
So the process can start simply. If any of this resonated with you, maybe just take a moment today to do a quick check-in. Inventory your assets, identify your goals, look at your current team of professionals, and just be honest about where the gaps are, where things aren't talking to each other. That little assessment, that's your first step. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.